Time. So welcome, welcome, welcome to the Dressing Roommate July book club meeting. It's a fabulous book club to join because it's global. I do every meeting on Facebook Live, so you can be anywhere in the world to join the conversation. We do what? We read one book a month. Typically I choose the books, but I do get approached by people who have books out there and they're like, hey, I want it to be read by the book club. So always open to that conversation. Generally, I like choosing the books, but again, I'm open. So if you are an author, if you have a great book recommendation, please let me know in the comments every single time we meet, in the group chats as well. I would love to hear, what additional books you're reading, because I'm currently in the middle of a million books. I have grammar books that I, always can be a better writer. So reading that, I read comics and graphic novels. I read, so many fiction books, nonfiction, personal development, coaching, everything and everything, because I'm an avid reader. It's the only way to grow and evolve in this world. If you are not reading, you're not learning. If you're not learning, you're not living. Life is about learning, evolving, and executing, guys. So with that, let's get to the book that we are talking about this month, because I know we are on a limited time. So this is 30 Things Before 30 by Hope Alcocer, or Alcocer. I apologize, Hope, if I mispronounce your last name. Met her, love her, she's fabulous. This book is a very interesting book. I didn't necessarily agree with everything that she proposed as kind of the 30 lessons that she learned before turning 30, or 30 things that you should think about before you hit your 30s. However, I think it was thought-provoking, and I definitely think it lends for good conversation. So I think tonight's going to be a really great conversation. So again, please, 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 please make sure that you are sharing this either now or later. And let me give you guys the link to the book so that you have that. You currently can get the book at dressingroommate.com, but I will put in the link right now. Let me just find it for you and give you the shortened link for the book so that you can check it out yourself, right? So it is definitely affordable, so that's really good. And you can get the book by, and Hope is really easy to talk to. So if you are ever interested in connecting with the author herself, I put in her tagged name in the comments, so you can always just like message her, reach out to her, but she's really chill and really cool person. So you have the link to the book there. Again, if you catch us at the tail end, you're like, oh, I wanna get this. Always, you can also get the book at dressingroommate.com, and I can put that in as well. But I'll put that in later at the end, because we'll do that at the end, guys. So let's get to it. There were several chapters, right? This is essentially, I think, let's go through the table of contents. She has 30 chapters, because this is 30 Things Before 30. And I pretty much have all of these tabs here, if you can see all of these tabs, because there was a lot to talk about. We'll start with some of them. I don't know if I'm going to get to all my notes because it was a lot. I literally had something to say pretty much about every chapter, which that really is good. I think most books should be more thought-provoking and make you say, huh? But the first one is chapter 2, page 16, where she talks about weight. And so she says, things like, let's see, where in the chapter? So here, okay. You should be healthy enough to live a long and happy life. Studies show that being obese will shorten your life. Studies also show that being too thin can be detrimental to your health. You could have cardio issues if you're too fat or too thin. You could potentially have hormonal issues if you're under or overweight. Extreme weight loss or gain can lead to low libido, low energy, or missed periods. But it's not about the pounds. Everybody has their own personal individual standard of what is normal based on so many factors. And that, my love, is something that should only be determined by a health professional, not your friend who has a cool fitness Instagram page, not a blog article, a trained health professional, because your standard of health is not the person's next to you. So just figure that out. My thing with weight is it's a touchy subject, right? Because I think even some people don't necessarily enjoy the language of too fat or too thin, right? That's kind of labeling in and of itself. I think when we talk about weight, I think that the general conversation usually comes from a comparative perspective. And she's trying to say, hey, don't compare yourself, create your own standard, work with a health professional, which I agree with. But I just think that how it was written about could have been more succinct with the idea of just like taking out the labels of like too fat, too thin, and just say, how do you feel about your body weight? Where are you comfortable in the skin that you're in? And if not, then what would make it different for you? How would you choose to behave and eat and move your body differently tomorrow, the next day, this week, right? I just think that when we talk about weight and being, too obese or too thin, I just think that people get caught up in labels. And so I just personally, I think, is that helpful advice? Yes, it's helpful, but it's, I just think the conversation is like overdone. And I'm also kind of personally done with the idea of comparing your health with your weight. Because why? You can't look at someone and know automatically if they're healthy or not, right? So I'm happily in my bathing suit. Why? Because your girl swims pretty much every day. That's why I moved to Arizona. So, but for some people, you can make a judgment call on my health, whatever you come to determine. I've talked about my health publicly as well. It's a challenge. We all are dealing with different struggles and challenges when it comes to how to deal with our weight, how to deal with our nutritional journey. And it's a very private and personalized conversation. And I think it's put into public media too much. It's put into books by people who, aren't specialized in the space. And I just think it needs to just like, I would just love a conversation when we talk about self-development, not always linking those two things. So that was my comment there. Page 23 of chapter 3. That chapter is Shut Up and Stop Complaining. So let's go there. Okay. I'm not saying to go abandoning your friends. They don't have the plague and they aren't lesser than you. I'm telling you this because you need to make a decision about friends that boast of woe is me, this, and I can't change my life, that. There's no growth to be had with people like that. So when you are with them, you become stagnant, a tree. You are not supposed to be a tree. Negativity is contagious, and this is why you need to separate yourself from it. This chapter is about learning to surround yourself with positivity, but it's also about figuring out how to shut the fuck up and stop complaining. You are in control, even if you find yourself in a situation that you cannot control, like a debilitating illness. You control your attitude, you control your response, you control your future. We are all given the same amount of hours in a day. We're all given the fresh start of life, but then it is up to us what we choose to do with that time. That's harsh, but it's so real and it's so honest. And that advice, I truly do, like that resonated with me, because I think for me personally, I have found it extremely freeing and extremely satisfying to reduce the amount of people that I associate with, to reduce the amount of people that I talk to, because most people, like she said in this chapter, are complainers, are the I can't, and this will only be, and my life will not go anywhere. All of that negativity, as she's saying, is contagious. I completely agree with her. So yay, hope on that. I really like that. I think that that type of advice doesn't necessarily always work for everyone, as I have found myself, as I've shared that similar sentiment with others. People take offense. People take offense to the idea that they are in the driver's seat of their life, and you, being the good friends you are trying to educate and kind of enlighten and motivate your friend who's the constant complainer, the woe is me. And what they do is they see it as an attack, as opposed to a moment of reality, and a moment of like, aha, I can make a difference, I can make a change. Some people really struggle with change. They don't even believe change is possible for them. I've seen people chastise and criticize and say that change is only eligible for certain people, which sounds quite out there. But believe you and me, not everyone believes in change for themselves, or in believing it as a reality generally. So I believe that's really helpful advice. I'd love to know if you get this book, 30 Things Before 30 by Hope. I'd love to hear and see what you say about it. That really resonated with me. Oh, yes. Chapter 6, page 38. So we're going to go through, this is what we typically do for every book club meeting. I like tabulate my pages so I have different pages to go through with you guys. But it's a kind of book where once you get started, like once I started, I pretty much like read it like a couple of hours. Maybe I read it, I think, in totality of a day, but and that's only because I had to stop to go do other stuff. But in reality, I love just like sitting down and just reading for like 4 hours. Like I just love getting through content, hoping I can get through a book later tonight. Pray for me, y'all. Okay, so she writes this on page 38, chapter 6. We need air, water, and food. Everything else is secondary. You don't need love or companionship. I know you're going to try and argue with me on this. Scientifically, my love, you do not need love to live. Everything else is optional. Everything else is icing on the cake. The word need is a strong word. By telling someone that you need them, you are giving them something more than your love. You're giving them power over you. As women, we have relinquished enough of our power to men by force. To give it to them willingly is to essentially give up your identity. If you need them, then what are you without them? As babies, we use our power to cry for things that we actually need to develop. When we become adolescents, we start using our power to make decisions about where we will end up in life and how we will get there. As women, we must channel that power into acting graceful, tough, unbending, and yet willing to compromise where it is needed. Instead of saying that you need someone, tell him or her that you care for them and value their opinion. Without them, life still carries on. To the person who's just gone through a terrible breakup and feels like a hollow version of herself, I say to you that you'll be fine. You will, I promise. Interesting perspective. Do you need other people? I completely agree with Hope in the definitiveness. Do you actually need other human beings to live? No, I don't think that is a reality. Is it something that enhances your existence? Yes, because human beings are social creatures, right? We are not so far off from our genetic relations of apes and gorillas, right? And these are social mammals. We are a social mammal as well. So yes, it is not a necessity, but it becomes a reality that is something that we say to ourselves, and whatever you think is your need in your life and your requirements here, guess what? Played out in your life, right? Your life is just a reenactment of what's going on in your head. So if you say to yourself, I need my spouse, I need my partner, then that becomes the life that you live, and you start to delegate things that you will not do because you have this needed person who's going to do them. So when that needed person, like she's mentioning, departs from your life, what do you feel? Void. You feel a deficiency because you set this expectation that this other person was going to be a part of your life forever till the end of time, and then they're no longer here. What do? Does your life fall apart? No, you cannot allow, yes, the love and passion for others to make your life feel as if it's incomplete without them, because anything can happen, whether they leave you, whether they die, whether you die, right? It's a whole complex conversation. I definitely, I'd be open to reading a book about grief if that would be something that would be helpful to you guys. If so, please put that in the comments and let me know if anyone's going through that and you want to pick a book. The books are set for the rest of this year, but we can always add in like a complimentary, just like one-off session to talk about it if it's something that's really, of importance and need for you all, because I want to be a resource for you over and over and over again. That's why the Dressing Room Mate platform exists. It's to help you personally, professionally, and everything beyond. It's really just kind of that one-stop shop to talk about fashion, to talk about mindset, to talk about your career, and to talk about how you can improve in your business or your goals and ventures that you have for yourself. So do I have someone that I, in my mind, need? Absolutely. I for the rest of my life, I will always say that my husband and my co-host of Woken Free, our podcast, a separate platform we've created, is something that is bred from the love of what we shared. We've been together since we were 18 years old. This is someone that's not just my husband, but is definitely someone that I would say is my heart, is my rock. What Khalil thinks and says is paramount to anything else and anyone else. and in my mind, do I need him? Absolutely, as I hope he would say the same to me. But in reality, of course, you in life, you have to be okay with yourself. You have to be okay and sufficient living your life and making sure that what you want and what you need is happening every single day, and that the people in your life are a beautiful reflection of what you want, right? But it's an interesting topic. If you haven't thought about that, again, put that in the comments. What are your thoughts? Let's see. She has so many different interesting topics. Okay, so chapter 7, not everybody is a photographer, the it factor. So I think on page 41, I pointed out, yes, so this. Once you've taken the time to date your equipment and obtain the skills needed to make it your industry of interest, you need to figure out what will separate you from the rest. What's your it factor? Your it factor. What is separating you from everyone else in your industry, your genre, your sector? Find that, harness that, and utilize it to obtain your success. There are 1 million photographers. There are thousands of social media strategists. There are 1,000,001 musicians. What is going to set you apart? What will make you stand out in your oversaturated job market? Everyone has the it factor. You just have to find it. One of my favorite things to do in my free time is help loved ones hone in on their it factor. It's like discovering a new, brightly colored wardrobe in a closet that they didn't know they had. If you had an internship at a really cool place, you're not automatically a big shot. Just because you have a set of skills, it does not make you marketable. Just because you have experience does not make you better than everyone else. No, you need the it factor. That's again, very interesting, very kind of in your face advice. I don't know. I think I could understand where she's coming from that place and sharing that advice. But I also do see just in the marketplace, whether we're talking about social media gurus, whether we're talking about marketers, whether we're talking about people with business acumen, people who are social media influencers, is it always an it factor that separates them, or is it, do they have the tools and techniques to understand the Instagram algorithm and get in front of more people? And yes, there's something special about them. Maybe it's how they look or what they say or kind of their humor, their presentation. I think she has a point, but I do think that there are some people who do succeed who don't necessarily have a clear and identifiable it factor. They are just, kind of on trend for what they're doing. I think that the it factor doesn't account for kind of viral takeoffs for people, right? Because it wasn't an it factor that necessarily made someone go viral. It could have just been the type of content that they put out. It could have been this really remarkable moment that they captured in time, right? So is the it factor applicable to everyone and everything? And that's, if you don't have an it factor, you can't succeed. I get very weary about this, one way of doing something, because there's, as they say, different ways to skin a cat. I mean, it's not a pretty phrase, but it's the reality, right? And I think that we just need to be careful about, when we think about kind of how we can better ourselves, not pigeon-toeing ourselves into this idea that there's only one way to succeed, that there's only one way to be, because there are lots of ways to be. And I think that who you are is special and unique. There's only one of you. I like to say to people, you're a walking, talking masterpiece, right? And I think that she has a point about figuring out how you can market you specifically. And if you want to call that your it factor and find your, the inner it factor, sure, right? That's fine. But just keep in mind that there's different ways to succeed in this world, and you have to determine what that level is for you. And it's not going to be measured by outside parties. It has to be an internal journey. And if for you, it's social media numbers, if it's certain amount of money made, if it's certain amount of opportunities achieved, lay out your list, right? Lay out your accomplishment list. But just keep an open mind. And I think I do agree that you need to spend time, if not every day, every week, really honing in on how you can improve and how you can, get your message out more, if that's something that's important to you. It's something that I have to do for myself. And I do have a life philosophy that I would never give advice that I couldn't apply to myself. Right? So if I'm saying, yeah, we all have to learn, we all have to grow, and we all have to understand a little bit more what we're good at, same goes to me, right? It's just kind of that cycle that we're doing. But that's that. Ooh, yes, this was a good one. Oh my God, I'm just running out of time, and there's just so much to talk about. Okay, so on chapter 10, your parents did the best they could. Page 58 to 59, I noted. Okay, so I went to school for psychology, and in a nutshell, they tell you that parents are responsible for everything. It seems to always go back to childhood and early development. Most things I understand that and respect that to a certain extent. But every single class that I took had these underlying themes throughout my degree program. Your upbringing and those who raised you were the core of who you would one day become. These theories probably started with Sigmund Freud, of who I don't know if I can really believe, considering he had a lot of messed up theories about his mother. I remember a quote my punk ass would always post when I was a immature twit. We are the ones who our parents warned us about, or those who criticize our generation forget who raised it. We have become very comfortable with blaming our parents for everything and not taking responsibility for our actions. While I believe that is true to a certain extent, as far as our development and growth are concerned, our parents did the best they could. And it took me 30 years to realize that, because every therapist that I saw told me that it all stems from my parents. Freud probably has something right, although I'm grossed out by his theory that the son always wants to fuck his mom. Yeah, she doesn't hold back, like, and just letting you know, that's, go ahead, Hope. Do your thing. So I disagree with that sentiment. I disagree with the idea that you cannot identify the errors of your parents. I disagree with the fact that you should say that all parents tried their best. That's not true, right? Again, blanket statements are problematic, right? Because not all people do the same thing. Not all people have the same exposure and have the same resources. So not all parents are equipped to be parents, right? And to say that the person's parent who became a substance abuse addict when the child was 6 years old and continued to have that addiction well into the child's 30s and 40s, did they do the best that they could do if they knowingly took actions that led to the destruction of their home and their child's life? I don't think that's the best you could do. You know, I mean, again, that's an argument that you could say, well, maybe that was the best that that person could do. But we choose to make every choice in our life, right? And that includes the decisions to essentially fuck up. And that includes the decisions to excel. That includes the decisions to get yourself out of toxic environments. That includes the decisions to try to learn about being a parent. I think one of the things that I think is really missing is that not every parent tries to learn and educate themselves on what it is to be a good parent, because there are tons of books that will give you advice about the you know, when the kid's in the stomach before they even come here, as to what you should eat, what you should do. And then of course there's a ton of content out there about the rearing and raising of children, right? But is every parent reading them? If you're a parent, are you saying that you read at least 1 to 3 parenting books every year to understand how you can level up in your skills as a parent? I don't know if most people would say yes to that. I don't necessarily have a bunch of friends that have babies. Most of the people I speak to, their kids are grown, or they're, you know, they're not too worried anymore. They're like, they're fine. We're worried about college now. But you know, it's interesting. I don't know. I think that blanket statement of parents did the best that they could do, I don't personally know if that applies in my life, and I don't know if that applies to too many people that I know in my network. I think parents like to say that to themselves. I think they like to rationalize their bad behaviors and say, well, you know, there's no guidebook to raising a kid. This is the best that I could do. The best that you could do, is that a standard that even really applies? Because the best means that there's no other level above that. And I think that everything about life is about leveling up and evolving. So I don't know if the best is the standard that we're going for, but I think, was it a standard that allowed for your child to be nourished, to grow, to evolve, and have as much access to resources as you could afford, and that you constantly try to give more and educate more and influence more? Again, you know, I'd love to hear your comments, all the parents in the group. Come on in. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree, but my whole thing is, I just think that people like to rationalize a lot, and they try to say, listen, you know, I screamed, I did that, but I was stressed, and they just rationalize. So I disagree. And then we only have a couple minutes left, guys, because if I give it to you all right now in this book club, what are you going to do? You're not going to read the book. So you have to read the book, 30 Things Before 30. All right. And the link is in the comments. And like I said, you can also get the book at dressingroommate.com. She has a lot of other chapters. I'll just read off some names just to kind of get you acquainted. Stop Saying Yes. Interesting, right? College Isn't for Everyone. So true. So true. Listen, me and my hubby, we're Penn State alum. We are. And we are so, I'm grateful that I went to Penn State. It's where I met my husband. It's where I evolved. It's where my life really, I say, kind of began. So yes, for me, college was definitely needed and a part of the process. Needed, interesting, right? Is it really though, Natasha? But is it for you? Is it for your children? Think about it. Mental health is a thing. There's several, yeah, I think you should think about that and think about how we all have mental health concerns that we need to think about. Some of us deal with anxiety, some of us have mental health illnesses, right? But mental health is a serious thing for all people. It's not just like some people in this world. We all have to care about our mental health. Otherwise, we'll have mental health issues, right? It's not a far jump, but yet somehow in media it seems to be. So interesting. Chapter 17, nobody cares. Wonder what that's about. You have to get the book if you want to know. Chapter 18, be selfish. Yes, you have to focus on you. We spend a lot of time staying in other people's lanes, caring about how other people are living their lives and what are you doing and how are you doing it. Stay in your own goddamn lane. You know, me and my hubby talk about this all the time. I get so frustrated because people ask questions that the answers have no bearing on your life. Why do you care how other people are living unless you are trying to understand how to change your life and you find other people's decisions to be inspiring and motivating and you're coming from a place of curiosity? Beautiful. But most people I find, especially in my network, come from a place of judgment. And, you know, my answer is usually like the middle finger because I'm just like, enough. Like I've said it before. I'll say it as many times as people need to know. I'm not in any way obligated to explain my life or my life decisions. I'm just here to live my life. I do not have to explain it. If you're interested in understanding it because you too are looking to change XYZ, always here to explain. But the judgment shit, like Gary Vee talks about that too, like, nope. Cut that crap out because no one cares. And if you disagree with this person's life decisions, good for frickin' you. You're not living that person's life. So get your life and stay in your goddamn lane. Like, I find that so irritating. It's like crazy. But I also would love to, if someone has a book that they are like reading or an audiobook, I'm so into audiobooks right now. Definitely let me know because I find that crazy. Then the last chapter, this is like the last chapter I can talk about before we have to end this, guys. This one is, what was it? It was be selfish, set a boundary, stay current, cut the cord. Oh, she does have a chapter, you don't owe anyone an explanation. I really related to that one too. Oh, chapter 5, you don't have to swallow, page 36. So I don't have time to go into it, but all I will say is that chapter, that chapter was a lot. It was a lot to talk about. It was a lot to talk about when it comes to the type of sexual activity she is referring to when she says, you don't have to swallow, if you get my drift. So with that, a couple of things. First, where do you get this book? So again, it's in the comments. You can get the book by just clicking on that Amazon link and getting your book today. You can also get a copy of the book at dressingroom8.com. So I have that link there. Moving on, what are we reading next? We're reading a book called Poker Woman, How to Win in Love, Life, and Business Using the Principles of Poker by Ellen Lakekind. Ugh, last names are fun, huh? So where will you get information about that? Obviously in the Dressing Room 8 Book Club on Facebook. You definitely can access it. Also dressingroom8.com. The link is in the comments. You will get all updates on the book club as well as the replay video that's going to be put up on YouTube. So if you missed this live, you can always access the replay video on YouTube, okay? And then outside of that, if you have questions, if you have comments, please put them here in the comment section. If you catch this on YouTube and you want to put it there, you're welcome to do that there as well. But overall, it was thought-provoking. Did I agree with everything? No, but I appreciated her perspective. And as someone who's, just into my 30s, I think that the advice is definitely poignant for some of the things that as women in our 30s, what we need to think about, or if you're approaching 30s, definitely what you want to think about. All I would say, I guess, as someone who's, I'm turning 33 this year, for me, the most important thing that I've learned is intuitive living has been a life changer and a just game changer. If you are not listening to your body, you are going to struggle in your life. When your body is feeling overwhelmed, when your body is feeling exhausted, when you're feeling tension, when you're feeling pain, you actually have to do something about it, right? It doesn't just like magically go away like, no, you're just going to be in pain. And so the level of pain that you can accept in your life is completely up to you. For me, I'm a bit of a sissy. When something aches, I'm like, right? Like I'm not about that life. I'm not about being in pain. It's, to me, slavery's done. I don't know what we're holding on to, guys. Like, I think if you're in pain, you should deal with it, right? As to the best of your ability. Sometimes circumstances prevent you from getting all of the things that you need done, but what can you do? What's under your control? Go ahead and do it, right? Stop talking crap. Go ahead and do it. So that was probably, I would say, between 0 and 30, the biggest, or 0 and 32, the biggest lessons I've learned in my life. Next, I would say reading. The less you read, the less evolved and the less challenge you'll feel, and the less educated and the less connected you'll feel, and it's a lesser existence. And I say this because, yes, I am a book nerd. Yes, I love reading. Talk to my husband, Mike's one of the best things I get to do every week is go to the library. I am that geek. I will live that and own that for the rest of my life. But I tell you this because it's comforting, and it's also something that I have found that it makes me better. It makes me a better woman. It makes me a better wife. It makes me a better educator. It makes me a better content creator. It makes me a more thoughtful, empathetic person. You've got to read, guys. It's not optional. I know I've seen some content out there that's like, oh, only the rich have time to read. Bullshit. Read. You have time to use the bathroom. You have time to pee. You have time to do other things in there. You have bloody well time to read. Read 15, 30 minutes a day. It will freaking change your life, guys. And if you're struggling with that, I'm a coach, right? In addition to all the things I do, I'm happy to give you the coaching that you need to help you become a better reader. Like if you feel like you need a little bit of handholding and a little bit of accountability, I'm happy to do that for you. But you've got to set the intention, at least for yourself, that like, you know what, it's 2019. I've been effing around. I haven't been reading enough. So that's another thing I would say. And then the last advice I would say about kind of the most important things in 30, it's not about the numbers, right? Like, and that phrase, I want to apply that across the board, right? So I just did a program for Style for It, where we talked about, there's more to life than like likes and follows on social media. There's more to life than counting how old you are. I could be turning 33 or 83 this year, right? Like there's so much more to life than caring about that number. There's so much more to life than caring about, am I a size 18? Am I a size 22? Like who gives a shit? Like there's so much more to this, the dress size that you wear, the pants size that you wear, the shoe size that you wear. There's so much more to life than the amount of friends you have in life. I have a small, very small group of friends now, and I've always really had that, but it doesn't matter whether I had one friend or 1,000 friends or 1 million friends, right? There's so much more to life than numbers. And I think same thing, more than life than the number of money, how much money you have in your bank account. It's really about the intention that you set for yourself and what you want to accomplish, right? And so if there's certain goals that are number oriented, then yes, those numbers matter. But generally speaking, I think we have to get out of this attitude of just like, if I don't hit this number, I'm not successful. If I don't hit this number, my life is less meaningful, because it is not. What type of contributor are you to this community, to your world? Who are you? What's your spirit about? What are you bringing to this earth? That's the shit that matters, right? So that's really deep. And if you want more of that content, we definitely can bring that to the Dressing Room Mate platform and talk a little bit more about getting past the numbers, right? If that's something that you're struggling with, let your girl know, put it in the comments. So after all of that, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Again, I'm going to do my Venaway. Check out 30 Things Before 30 by Hope. She's dope. Oh, that rhymes. That's amazing. Oh, killing the game, guys, killing it. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I hope I've motivated you to go and say, okay, I'm going to pick up the next book. You'll see that posted on the Dressing Room Mate My Recommendations page. And then tomorrow it's going to be on the homepage as well. So you can totally see it there. And if you have any questions, any concerns about what we're reading, how you can read more, thoughts about the books that we're reading, again, don't hesitate to reach out. Put it in the comments that you see on the Facebook group. You can hit me up via email, natasha@dressingroom8.com. You can also go to the website, dressingroom8.com. Okay, so with that, we're over time, and I'm going to let you go because your girls got to go swimming. I've got to continue to say sun-kissed and enjoy the sun because I'm happy in Arizona, and so I hope you are happy and blessed wherever you are, and we'll talk soon. All right, so enjoy the rest of your July, and guys, I hope you're ready to bring in August. Woohoo! It's Leo season now, right? So all you Leos, live it up, okay? I'll talk to you soon. Bye.